Hey NASCAR fans! You won't believe the high-speed drama we've got in store for you today. Tensions in the racing world are higher than ever. Hendrick Motorsports is giving Joe Gibbs a run for his money, while 23XI Racing is making Christopher Bell sweat. And we know all about it. So what drove these heated rivalries, and how will they affect the NASCAR landscape? Buckle up, because we're about to dive into the action. But before that, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single update. Hendrick Motorsports seems to seize every opportunity to cast a shadow over Joe Gibbs Racing, making them look like the underdogs in the NASCAR world. Whether it's Kyle Larson's triumph on the track or subtle jabs in post-race interviews, it's clear that HMS relishes putting Joe Gibbs Racing in a hot seat. And while Larson basks in the glory, it's not just Joe Gibbs Racing feeling the heat. 23XI Racing has inadvertently made Christopher Bell appear as if he's got some catching up to do, especially when compared to the likes of Larson. This week, Kyle won the battle against Christopher Bell in that intense NASCAR Cup Series Round of 8 playoff race on October 15th in Las Vegas. It was a nail-biter, but Kyle, representing Hendrick Motorsports, managed to secure the victory and a spot in the Championship 4 race at Phoenix. Christopher Bell had a strong start, winning the pole position for the South Point 400 race over the weekend. Despite facing challenges like pit road and lapped car delays, Bell showcased his often underestimated skills and remained a frontrunner throughout the race. Yet even with all his efforts, he couldn't match the extraordinary might of Kyle Larson. The number 5 driver dominated the race, sweeping the stages and even overcoming a loose tire mishap. For Bell, it was a disheartening moment as he found himself 2 points below the cutoff line, feeling like he had not only lost the race but also his shot at the championship. But the story doesn't end there. After the race, the 2021 Cup Series champion sat down with the media to discuss his day on the track. When one reporter asked him about his last lap showdown with Joe Gibbs Racing's Christopher Bell and the level of respect he had for him, Kyle, at 31 years old, didn't hold back. In fact, he took the opportunity to throw a bit of shade at Joe Gibbs and his strict rules for the drivers. Larson gave his take, saying, "He's always been a really fair, clean racer. We've had numbers and numbers of battles in stock cars, but mostly in dirt tracks. I'm typically the one who is the aggressor, or the aggressive one in our battles. Probably push the limit of being dirty sometimes. For him to continue to race me clean, I definitely have a ton of respect for him. Always have. In my opinion, he's one of the best race car drivers in the world, and could do everything that I get to do outside of NASCAR if his team would let him." Kyle Larson's earlier comment about Christopher Bell's team not letting him do more in the dirt tracks seems to be connected to a story that made headlines back in January. It all started when Christopher Bell opened up on a podcast with sprint car driver David Gravel. He didn't hold back, revealing that Joe Gibbs Racing had effectively slammed the door on his dirt track racing ambitions. In his own words, Bell said, "I love the Chili Bowl. It's a very special place to me. Definitely the largest event that I grew up going to as a kid, and it means the world to me that I've been able to win it. But Joe Gibbs has been extremely vocal about this. I don't want to use the word hatred, but it's pretty close to hatred towards dirt track racing. He does not love dirt track racing or open wheel racing at all." Bell went on to explain that he had a solid relationship with Coy Gibbs, saying, "Me and Coy have a great relationship. Coy Gibbs. I would always funnel my dirt track stuff through Coy, and Coy loved it. He thought it was really good for me to do. And he would kind of tell his dad that we talked about it, and he thought that it was fine for me to go do it. So obviously, Coy passed away in November, and I kind of lost that connection. And Joe was very vocal about me not dirt track racing. So for the time being, I'm not going to be dirt track racing." Christopher Bell found himself in a bit of an awkward spot as he tried to clarify his earlier remarks and clear the air about the sensitive topic. Days before the Talladega race on April 23rd, the Oklahoma native had an encounter with the Fox NASCAR crew, including Chris Myers, Clint Bauer, and guest analyst Tony Stewart, who were discussing the previous night's racing action at the Talladega short track, where Ricky Stenhouse Jr. had quite the sprint car competition. It was Tony Stewart, a 4-time Cup Series champion and former driver for Joe Gibbs Racing, who decided to stir the pot a bit. He asked Christopher, the current JGR driver, "Hey, I just want to know, why were you not across the street?" The former JGR driver asked the current one, "You let Stenhouse just steal all the money and walk out of there with 2 trophies and a wad of money in his hands." Bell, with a grin, replied, "Yeah, that's a great question." That succinct answer drew a laugh from both Stewart and Boyer. Myers chimed in, saying, "No answer apparently. You don't have a great answer." Deep down, Bell knows the answer, and it's not necessarily a happy one. It's folks like Tony Stewart and Kyle Larson who appreciate his racing skills and want to make sure that the racing world doesn't forget that his situation outside of NASCAR remains somewhat uncertain. 23XI Racing also didn't hold back, showing that Joe Gibbs Racing is no better this time, especially the number 20 driver. 2 years ago, we saw Kyle Larson from Hendrick Motorsports clinch the first victory in the round of 8, paving his way to championship glory. Fast forward to this year, and the number 5 driver has done it once again. He secured a triumph in Las Vegas, earning an early ticket to the Championship 4 race in Phoenix. But for the remaining title contenders, this victory sends an unsettling message. It appears that Bubba Wallace's insider knowledge emphasized Larson's superiority over Joe Gibbs' driver as they head to the upcoming race in Homestead. During the Door Bumper Clear podcast, Bubba Wallace's spotter, Freddie Kraft, expressed understanding and sympathy for Christopher Bell, saying, "I get what he's saying. He said something about getting stuck behind some of the lapped cars at one point and gave out some of the gap. It stings when you get stuck for a lap and lose a little bit of time and you end up on the guy's bumper. You know you could have done something differently. Obviously at the moment, knowing that all I had to do was get ahead of the guy and I'll be in the final championship versus now being 2 points out." However, Kraft didn't shy away from the undeniable reality of the round of 8 race. He praised Christopher Bell's performance in Las Vegas, acknowledging that he had a great run. Still, Bell was up against a driver who was simply better. It's worth noting that Kyle Larson has also won the playoff race in Homestead the previous year, making him a formidable force on the oval tracks. Kraft said, "I mean, obviously it's his best shot when he's on the other guy's bumper coming to the checkered, but I think this wasn't. He did what he had to do yesterday. He went out there, performed, got stage points, ran top 5, top 3 really, all day long. And now he has set himself up. He can run well at Homestead, don't get me wrong. I just meant he's not as good as Kyle Larson, which by the way nobody is, at running the oval." Despite the daunting challenge of going up against Kyle Larson, Freddie Kraft remained optimistic. He revealed how Christopher Bell could potentially overcome that 2-point deficit in the upcoming Homestead Miami race this weekend. Kyle Larson's victory in Vegas catapulted him to the top of the playoff standings, giving him the luxury of waiting for the remaining 3 contenders in Phoenix. But Larson's path to excellence has never been an easy one. He's known for fighting tooth and nail for every win. In fact, he boasts an impressive track record with a 2.5 average finish over the past 3 years in Homestead. On the other hand, Christopher Bell faces a different challenge with an average finish of 13 in the last 3 years at Homestead. According to Freddie Kraft, Bell still has the potential to overcome this hurdle, but he must be cautious not to become his own worst enemy. Kraft explained, "So unfortunate for him, but I think he's going to be fine. He's got plenty of speed. He just has to limit mistakes like he has had in the past. I've said here before that Christopher Bell spins out a lot if he steps over the line. It's easy for him to step over the line sometimes. So if he can stay within himself and go back to what he did yesterday and get top 3 stage points, top 3 in the race, he'll probably jump that cut line coming out of Homestead. Then he's going to go race straight up in Martinsville." Kyle Larson's previous win in Martinsville earlier this season solidifies his position as a formidable competitor for all the Joe Gibbs drivers. The question remains, can Christopher Bell conquer his Homestead hesitations and take on the defending champion on the track? So that's all we've got for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what you think of the video in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in the upcoming video.